Well, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. It is Monday morning, so it's time for our Monday morning recap on the Awe of God, the book by John Bevere that we're spending our year walking through. This week it's chapter 25, obeying when there's no obvious personal benefit. 2 weeks ago, obeying God immediately, right away, not delaying. Last week, obey God even when it doesn't make sense. That's hard to do. And obeying God even when you don't see a personal benefit in it. Okay? In fact, maybe even to the detriment of ourselves. He wrote, in over 40 years of ministry, I've observed a sad reality, especially in the Western church. All too often, to get believers interested in obedience, benefits must be emphasized. Think about it. Would we come 30 minutes early to a front row seat to hear a message on holiness? Are book titles that emphasize obedience making the bestseller list? Has leadership strayed from confrontational truth to accommodate this trend? So, yeah, sometimes in the Western church we're told to obey, but we're hesitant to do it unless we see the benefits, how it benefits us. What makes this trend such a sad reality? In shunning God's wisdom, we actually do hurt ourselves. His commands, His counsel, and wisdom ultimately do bring us a greatest blessing. On the other hand, it's interesting, it's dangerous to be motivated by incentives. Why? Because if the benefit isn't obvious, will we have the same resolve to obey God's instructions? Okay? Then he tells this story, reminds of a story about Mordecai, King Xerxes, Haman, and Queen Esther. Haman was a bad guy. He determined to punish not only Mordecai, his enemy, but also the entire race of Jewish people. He, as well as most of the others, were unaware that the Queen, Esther, was Jewish. So, skip ahead a little bit. This is what Queen Esther says. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I must die. So she was willing to obey even when there was no benefit. In fact, there was a possible detriment to her. Holy fear motivated her to put God's kingdom before her own welfare. Her comfort, security, and wealth and position were all put in jeopardy by her obedience. There was nothing in it for her, yet what was important to God was the most important to her. No exceptions. She trembled at His word. She feared God. Then he tells a story about running into some believers from Iran. And he's having this great conversation with them. They're at a conference in Europe, I think. And so they meet these two believers from Iran. And then he says this, at this point, I uttered one of the stupidest comments, because they mentioned that they do get some persecuted, or people are interested in what they're doing, are suspicious. So kind of said, it's a bad scene in Iran. At this point, I uttered one of the stupidest comments I've made in 4 decades of ministry. I said, why are you going back? Why don't you defect? They kindly, sincerely, and with resolve looked at me and answered, who will tell the Persian people about Jesus if we don't go back? I was in awe of their response. We witnessed these people laying aside their instinct to protect themselves. It was overshadowed by their passion for the advancement of the kingdom in their nation. They walked in the same holy fear that Esther did. They obeyed God even when there's no personal benefit was obvious, and quite possibly put their lives in danger. Okay? So again, we need to obey, not delay. Obey even when it doesn't make sense, and obey even when there's no personal benefit, or in extreme cases to our detriment. Just the closing point. We most often miss the greatest blessings by shunning God's wisdom that doesn't appear to be personally beneficial. In essence, we hurt ourselves in the long run We can never outgive God. Okay? So obey, even if there's no personal benefit for you. Take care. God bless.